Welcome to the show, everyone. I'm Clarissa, your host, and you're watching SheRocks College Live, a live show that happens every Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time that has a social viewing experience, allowing college women in their 20s and 30s to meet each other over chat while also being introduced to new ideas, resources that help them succeed in college and in life. And like I said at the beginning of the show, tonight we have Quizlet on the show, who's going to be talking about how to use Quizlet to actually do better in your classes, study, and use flashcards more effectively. If you are watching with us live, feel free to introduce yourself in the chat, ask any questions that you have as they come up, and I'm going to go ahead and bring on our guest, which is Laura. So Laura, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm so happy to have you here. So why don't you go ahead and let everyone know what you do over at Quizlet so that students who are interested in working for a company like Quizlet can see the different types of careers that exist?
Sure. So I run marketing at Quizlet. I've been here for about 2.5 years, and in my role here, I oversee anything that has to do with getting the word out about Quizlet and helping more students and teachers find Quizlet to help them do better in their classes. So that includes PR, so how we talk to reporters about Quizlet. It includes email. It includes social media. It includes things like how do we get students in new markets like Japan or Brazil or the UK to find Quizlet and start using it. So covers a lot of different things. When we started here, it was just me, and now our team, I think, is 7 full-time people, which is really exciting.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you said, with the company for about 2.5 years?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Awesome. So I'm pretty sure that everybody who's watching the show right now is familiar with Quizlet, but for those people who have been living under a rock and don't know what Quizlet is, why don't you go ahead and just kind of give us an overview of what Quizlet is and why it was designed?
Yeah, so Quizlet actually has a pretty incredible story, which is we were started almost 13 years ago by a high school sophomore who built it for himself to study. So he was trying to learn, I think, 111 French animals in high school, and he was like, there's got to be a better way to keep track of what I know and I don't know than just like regular traditional flashcards. So he built the very first version of Quizlet for himself. And what he did is he shared it with his friends in school, and they started using it. They started getting better scores on their French tests, and it kind of grew through Albany High School, which is a high school here in California in the Bay Area. And as Andrew, our founder, would find things that he didn't like or weren't working as well from, he would actually just like build it for himself. And that's how sort of Quizlet started becoming the product it is today. So he continued working on it. It launched like more broadly to the public in 2007. He went to MIT, smart guy, continued working on it, and actually ended up leaving MIT after 3 years because Quizlet had gotten so big that it like wasn't possible to go to school and work on Quizlet at the same time. So flash forward to today, we're 100 people in our San Francisco office, and Quizlet is really a platform that helps students practice and master whatever they're learning. We have 7 engaging study modes, 2 games, and 5 sort of learning activities. And it's a user-generated content platform. So students can put onto our platform what they need to learn, and we see everything from like 7th grade Spanish to history classes in high school, to organic chemistry in college, to people studying for things like like EMT certification after a formal educational environment's over, and then we'll generate these games and activities for them to help them really build that foundational knowledge base that they need. We are available online as well as on Android and iOS. And we're used in like pretty much every country around the world. I should also say we're localized into 19 languages. So if you are listening and you are a French speaker, you can use Quizlet in French, and that's really exciting too. I think our goal is that 90% of internet users can use Quizlet in a language that they speak. So we try to be available to everyone everywhere.
Yeah, that's very, very cool. So I actually we were talking about this before we got on live. I used Quizlet like all throughout nursing school, but particularly in my last semester, which was the hardest. And what I love about Quizlet is the search feature where you can actually see other students' flashcards that they create. And I use that tremendously, and it helps so much because it cuts down on the study time because you don't have to input everything, and you can actually even search by school. So like I was looking at students' flashcards that were in the same course as I was that wasn't that they weren't openly sharing it with everybody else, but they had it on Quizlet, and I ended up finding it and using it, and it helped.
Yeah, no, search is really powerful. We hear it actually from both sides, which is really interesting. There are some students who feel like it's a big part of the learning process to like create the materials themselves. It's sort of, if you think about, like when I was in high school, I would have I remember I had a physics teacher who's like, you can bring one index card into your test, and you can write whatever you want on that one index card. And you, as a student, you think like, oh, it's kind of like my cheat sheet. But then by the time you've like finished taking all of your notes on this index card, you've actually learned the material, right? And so I think there's some students where like making the study sets is an act of learning. And then there's other students who are like, no, I know exactly what I want to do. I just need this material so I can like learn it through one of these games or activities.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about all the different features that Quizlet has. So what I'm going to do is, as you're talking about them, I'm going to bring them up on my screen. So
Okay.
Just bear with me 1 second while I open up the correct one. Okay, and we are all set. So I'm going to go over, I'm going to click on one of my study sets so that we can see all of the different features.
Okay. So I would say the first thing to know is a study set is basically a term and a definition in a list. And so that's how we sort of organize content on Quizlet. So if you are in a Spanish class, you might have, hola on one side and then hello on the other. Obviously, if you're in like a health profession, you could have like a disease on one side and then like symptoms on the other side, right? From there, we can generate different games and activities for you. So maybe we could go into flashcards. We can see what that looks like.
Yeah. So the internet's going a little slow, but you can go ahead and keep talking. I'll get there eventually.
So if you go into a study set, you can pick flashcard mode, and essentially that replaces your traditional like stack of index cards. So you can flip through them one at a time. Keep track of which ones you know and don't know by starring them. And that's a really good way when you're trying to build familiarity with concepts or terms to just start getting yourself familiar. So we'll oftentimes see students who build flashcard set or build a study set and then start using flashcards when they're first starting to learn the information. They just want an easy way to review. Should I keep going?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So the next mode is one we're really excited about, which is Learn. And what Learn's the newest study mode we've launched. And what it does is it combines a machine learning platform that we built that sort of understands how millions of students on Quizlet have already learned and cognitive information with sort of theory from cognitive science. And so what it does is it essentially helps you break up your studying into smaller chunks. And then gives you encouragement along the way, and then lets you know when it's time to stop studying. And it's really based on this idea of spaced repetition. I don't know if you've ever talked about spaced repetition on your show before.
All the time.
Yeah, so it's this idea that, like, instead of just rereading your notes all the time, or studying for, 10 hours in a row, you'll actually do better if you study small chunks of content, and then quiz yourself frequently, but then also give your brain little chances to take a break. So that's really exciting. We see a lot of students will start that, and I'm not 100% sure on the web, but on your phone, if you open up Learn, it'll actually prompt you for a test date, and you can say like, hey, I am going to need to know all this information by Friday. And it'll create sort of a custom study plan for you based on how long you have to study. So, like anything, it works better if you can give it a couple of days, right? You'll do better on your test, and you won't feel as rushed. But even if we know, like, a lot of students will just do this the night before the test, and it gives them a way to kind of build out their studying instead of just cramming it all into, an hour or two.
Yeah, so I was just showing them a screen share that I did of me actually using the Learn on my phone. The nice thing, too, is that it'll actually prompt you with notifications to remind you to study. So if you're somebody who forgets, or you need that like sort of external type of motivation, I guess, it'll remind you, hey, your exam is coming up in 10 days or so. You should probably take a look at this study set.
Yeah, and I think the cool thing also is, a lot of students use this on their desktops, but if you do have the app, we often talk about how, like, you can use it to fill up the white space in your day. So you're waiting for the bus, or you're at Starbucks, or, you have 5 minutes before class starts. Like, that is a perfect time to sort of pull out the app and just start studying and have one of these, like, small, discrete study sessions that we know from, like, scientific research is, like, really good for your brain to have that, to take a break and then to come back to that. So Learn is really based on all of that.
And then the next feature is,
I think, I'm not sure if I'm going to go in order, is Spell, if you're on the desktop.
Yep.
And this one, we have a lot of users who are in, like, middle school and high school. And so if you have spelling tests, this one's pretty simple. It basically will just, like, say the word out loud and then require you to spell it. So it's probably less useful for people in college. But I remember for myself, like, I had a lot of spelling tests. I think probably through, like, my sophomore year of high school. And this is a way that you do this by yourself.
Yeah, and it can actually also work for language courses. So because you guys have that audio feature, if you were a language major and you were taking a language course and you like said the word, you can practice spelling it in whatever language it was, so that they could actually still use that in college that way.
I'm learning new things from you. Yeah. We also have Write, and this one is so if you think about, like, flashcards as kind of like reviewing, Write is a production exercise. So essentially it's not giving you, like, multiple choices and not letting you sort of passively take information. You have to produce the answer. So it's the kind of thing where, it would say ocho, and then you would type 8. And it wouldn't give you the option of, like 8 or 7 or 4. You just have to pull up the answer 8 from your brain. So that production type of exercise is also really good in terms of cognizing information and remembering things. We also have Test. And this is a great mode when you get to the end of your studying and you're like, okay, I've got it. You can use Test, and what it'll do is basically just generate a quiz for you based on the information you told Quizlet you need to learn. And you can say, like, I want it to be multiple choice, or I want it to be write the answer, or I want it to be like a matching thing where you have to, like, match 3 terms, 3 definitions, etc. So whatever style your teacher quizzes you in, you can create a test on Quizlet to mimic that. So oftentimes we'll see students who use Learn, where, like, they get to 100% on Learn, and then they go to Test to make sure that they actually know the information.
Very cool.
Yeah, and then we have 2 games. Match is what it sounds like. You basically are trying to, like, match a term and definition as fast as you can. We see a lot of competition come out with this because you can challenge your friends. So if you are taking, a bio class with a bunch of friends, you can get really competitive and see who can match all of their terms and definitions first.
Yeah, I could see people using this in study groups. I was also thinking about splitting up the work. So, like, if you are in a study group, having people do different chapters and then coming together in the study group and doing the matching while you're there and seeing who could actually win, who knows more, and then talking about it afterwards. I really like the match feature for that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Something that's funny, because you mentioned at the beginning of our conversation that you would find other students' student study sets, is we'll sometimes see tweets from students being like, oh my God, somebody just, like, knocked me out of the high score that I've held my own study set for, like, the last year. And we always think that's funny because people will get, like, competitive at regaining a spot, even if it's a class that they're not still taking.
Yeah, but that's awesome because that's the kind of engagement that you want to have. I feel like everybody thinks that college is so boring, and I think that we need more things like Quizlet to make it fun, to make it competitive, to make students more engaged with the information, so it's not just memorizing things all the time.
Yeah. And then the last game is called Gravity. It's kind of like a space race game. So you are like on a little planet, and meteorites, like asteroids, are like headed towards you, and you have to like type the right answer before they hit your home planet. So again, with Match is more of that like a recall. If you want to talk about like sort of like learning terminology, like recall, like can I recall which ones go with each other? Gravity is more of like a production exercise where you have to pull the information from your brain and then produce it on screen.
And is it timed? Because I was playing with it earlier today, and it goes really fast.
It goes really fast. Yeah, I'm not very good at Gravity, or I need to find easier study sets to do. And I think Gravity also, the important thing about that one is to make sure if you're figuring out if you want to be typing in the term or the definition, because oftentimes like a term will be 1 or 2 words, and a definition will be like 12 words or like a short paragraph. And you have to type it in exact. So in that case, you want to make it so it starts with your definition and you're typing in a term, which is an easier way to think about it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So if a student wanted to start using Quizlet, what's the easiest way for them to get started?
Yeah. I would recommend downloading the app. I tend to think that the way students study today, like our app and our website are like comparable. So everything you can do on the website, you can do on the app, with the exception of Spell and Gravity aren't on the app. But I think it's so powerful to have Quizlet in your pocket. So that's a really exciting thing. So I'd recommend you can get it on iOS or Android. It's free. But yeah, if you want to use it on your desktop, you basically can sign up. You can use your Google sign-in. You can use Facebook or just an email, and then search for a study set or create one yourself. And if you want to create one, there's a couple of ways to do it. If you already have a document, like a spreadsheet that has terms and definitions you want to learn, you can easily just copy those and upload them that way. So that's sort of like a little bit of an advanced use case, but if you already have that content typed out, there's no reason to retype it. Otherwise, you can just start typing term and definition. You can add images to your study set. We have some upgraded features, so you can record audio or upload your own images, which is pretty fun. We'll oftentimes see for like foreign languages, people will be like, yeah, my teacher wants us to be able to speak the word in this accent in this way, and so they can record that on their computer and then reference that when studying, and that's really fun. And yeah, but it's really easy. It's all free, so that's the other thing that's like important to know. We have some upgraded features. We have 2 upgrades for students, Quizlet Go and Quizlet Plus, but like there's no need to upgrade to those features unless you want those sort of extra capabilities. The main ones being removing ads and getting some advanced content creation tools, like the ability to record your own audio and upload your own images. But for the most part, like, you can use it for free, and it does everything you need to do to help you really practice and master what you're learning.
Yeah. So one thing that I wanted to talk about is the diagram feature, because I tend to have a lot of nursing students that follow, or bio majors, people who are taking anatomy and physiology. And so why don't you go ahead and explain it? You're the expert.
So we launched diagrams about a year ago, and the idea behind this was like, we've done an amazing job of helping students who have like 2 pieces of information that they need to match with each other. But what are other kinds of studying that we're not serving today? And in doing a lot of research and talking to students and talking to teachers, this idea of like diagrams of how you study with images and visual learning came up. And we felt like we weren't serving like health profession students, sciences, biology, anatomy, physiology, etc., as well as we could be. So we launched diagrams, and what that allows you to do is upload an image and then basically add markers to that image where you need to learn information. So you can imagine if you had a picture of a human heart, you could mark like a right atrium or a left atrium, and then we again will generate different games and activities learn that content. So now instead of just term definition, you have term definition and location. And what's interesting is we sort of developed it for this use case of anatomy and physiology and science, and sort of obvious things like geography, but we see all sorts of different use cases now. So you can, like, things that we didn't even imagine. We'll see English teachers have people diagram sentences using diagrams. We'll see foreign language teachers like upload a picture of a room and then ID all the different things in the room, because it's not just do you know the term definition, but can you like identify things in context? So that's been really cool to see as well. Just that there's different ways that people use Quizlet that we never even imagined. And our founder Andrew likes to mention actually nurses specifically, which is we have tens of thousands of students who are studying to become nurses on Quizlet, and we've never written a single line of code about nursing. And that's really the power of a platform that's that's run by sort of users and relies on user-generated content. That while we create the games and activities, we really are here to support you in sort of like what you need to learn.
Yeah, I absolutely love Quizlet. I am so excited that you guys were on the show tonight. So as you were talking, the computer was going really slow, but I was showing all the features just a little bit delayed afterwards. But for any of the students who are just watching, we actually had a student comment saying that she was actually thinking about different ways that she can quiz herself, and now she has Quizlet to be able to do it, which is awesome. I encourage all of you to just go on the internet, type in Quizlet, or download the app on your phone and start utilizing it. If you don't want to go ahead and like type in your own card set or your own flashcard set, just search for whatever topic area it is that you're studying. And if you go ahead and type in your school, a lot of the times you'll be able to find cards that are from the exact same class and the exact same professor that you're taking the content from. And then that saves you time. You can just study based off of that.
Yeah, we definitely recommend for those using search that there's Quizlet has some crazy numbers, but there are 300 million pieces of study material that have been created on Quizlet. So if you think about that, the more specific you can be when you search, the better. So, if you search anatomy, there's a good chance it's not going to be quite what you want. But if you can search like anatomy of the hand, or muscle, the muscular system, or something more specific, there's a good chance we have what you're looking for. So that's always like my pro tip is like as exact as you can be when you're searching, the better we'll be able to serve you.
Yeah, and one thing, Laura, that I wanted to talk to you about too is professors and how they're using Quizlet. So I know that from the research that I've done on Quizlet, it's being used a lot in like elementary schools, middle schools, and high schools. How are you guys seeing it used at the college level by professors?
Yeah, that's a good question. I will say that we see a ton of college student use and less use from professors. And I think that speaks to the kind of learning that people are doing in college, where there's more, I think, in elementary, middle, high school, there's more emphasis on memorization. Mm-hmm. And I think in college, there's more emphasis on like application, but you still need that sort of foundational piece, that foundational knowledge, because you can't start applying or analyzing until you've built that base layer. So I think we see a lot more self-directed studying in college, mm-hmm. whereas, when you're younger, and I think we've all experienced this, of like when you're in high school, your teachers just tell you what to do.
Right.
This is your homework. And then you get to college, and then you stop having homework, and it's just like you have to know everything at the end of the semester, right? So I think that that's one of the reasons we see a lot of usage in college, but not as much sort of directed usage from professors. I think foreign languages is like one of the areas where we do still see usage in the classroom from the college level, or from college professors. But for the most part, college, it's self-directed, and students saying like, I need to know this, and I'm going to find a way to learn it.
Yeah, so how are the teachers that are using it at the high school level, how are they using it? Because I feel like at the college level, students have a lot of impact, and especially in their relationship with their professors. So if they can communicate with their professors that this would actually help them to feel more engaged in class and to be able to learn the information and to develop relationships with everyone else in the class, I think that if they knew specifically what professors could do with it, they would be able to speak to it a little bit better.
Yeah. So one thing that I didn't talk about is we have an in-classroom game called Quizlet Live. And this is something that only sort of people who sign up and identify as teachers have access to. But it was essentially is a game that you can run in class, and it's a competitive, collaborative game where students are broken into teams and they work together to race against the clock and find the right answer. And so it's sort of, you think about it, you'll have 3 or 4 students on a team. Each student will have maybe 3 answers displayed on their screen, and then there'll be one question. So the students have to work together to be like, do you have the right answer? Do I have the right answer? Etc. And what we think is really important is the game focuses on accuracy over speed. So if you get a wrong answer, you can basically get sent back. And the teacher can project a view of which team is doing the best. So we see a lot of usage of that in high school and in middle school, actually. So that's one big way we see Quizlet used in the classroom. We'll also see teachers just assign Quizlet as like a way to do like quick formative assessment, like to check what their students know. I think every teacher's like worst nightmare is they start like lecturing on a topic and they realize that like no one has any idea what they're talking about, right? And they just are like looking up blank stares. So teachers will oftentimes say like, hey, can you do a quick round, like a quick test on this study set so I can understand what you know and don't know? Because if none of you did the reading and like none of you know what's going on, right, I can't move on to the next area. So that's another way we see teachers use Quizlet in the classroom a lot.
Yeah, and I think that at the college level, that would be super helpful because a lot of the learning is self-directed. So professors are coming in assuming that every college student has done the 5 chapters of reading and have written their notes.
Of the reading, right? Nobody's ever shown up for class without doing the reading, but it happens sometimes, right? So that's another way that I think professors and TAs and graduate school instructors can utilize Quizlet.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, Laura, that was it. Thank you so much for sharing with us all the features that Quizlet has and for giving us your time today. Is there anything that you want to say about Quizlet? Is there anything that you felt like we didn't touch upon that you wanted to touch on?
Oh, man. Let me think. One thing I will also say about the app, I'm on a big app kick right now, and this is not my sneaky effort to get your community or your watchers, your viewers to buy anything, but we do have offline access on the app. If you upgrade to Quizlet Go, which is I think $12 a year, so it's pretty inexpensive. And what's cool about that is, like if you're in the B level of the library, or you're on the subway and you're underground and you don't have service, you can continue studying with Quizlet. So that's something where I think, Quizlet's based in San Francisco, which sometimes we forget that there are, places in the country that like don't have fast Wi-Fi everywhere, and there are people who don't have high-speed internet at home, and it's not a given that everywhere you go in the world right now you can get connected. So Quizlet Go is a great feature which provides offline access. So that's just another thing I would flag, that if you live somewhere where your internet is spotty, or you do a lot of commuting in places where you're on the bus and there's no data, that can be a great resource as well.
Yeah, and ads are so annoying, so it's worth it to me.
Yeah. We say like if you want that extra focus, you can pay for ads too. But the cool thing about the ads, I like to say, is that ads help us keep Quizlet free
going.
Millions of students, and that's really for us as well. Like there's a different world in which we could say like we don't want to be really big. We just want to make a ton of money, and we can start charging a lot. But we really think it's important that students everywhere can use Quizlet, and so ads are the way we are able to do that.
So everybody accidentally click on an ad. That's awesome. Well, thank you again, Laura, for hopping on. If anybody has any questions on how to use Quizlet, I am going to have detailed notes on SheRocksCollege.com. On there, I'm also going to be giving away tips on how I teach my students to use Quizlet. So if you want to see that, you can head on over to the blog, SheRocksCollege.com. It will be live on Monday with the full-on show notes, but this will stay on YouTube forever. Laura is really appreciative of that. So yeah, if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I can help you set things up. If you have any questions on how to use it for your classes, that's what I'm here for. But I'm going to let Laura enjoy the rest of her workday. Thank you everyone who has joined us live, and I will see you next Thursday on our next show. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.